This is a video about the group project that we have coming up, and the name of the company you're going to be working on is not really a company, it's a cooperative. It's called Accessibility Products Cooperative. So with this video, I just want to give you a brief overview of what is expected for the project. So we have a maximum of 4 students in each group. So I want you to select your group. If you're not able to find somebody, or if there's only 2 or 3 in your group, that's fine. Just email me and I will then combine people into groups of 4. So once you've formed your group, one person in the group email me. I don't want all 4 of you emailing me, so one of you email me and give me the list of the student names. And as I say, if you're not in a group, don't worry, just send me an email and I'll sort it out. So that's group composition. So effective group work, this is very important. I know from being a student, sometimes you get in really good groups and sometimes you get in really bad groups. So it's no different than in the workplace. You have to learn to get along with people and to try to get everybody to do their fair share of the work. So it's important to schedule meetings in advance and then follow up on group tasks. And one key role that somebody in the group should play is the note taker. Now, it doesn't sound important, but it actually really is. So what I suggest you do is when you're having your meetings at the end, one of you write up an email to document kind of the to-do list of listing the tasks, who's doing which item, and when are they going to have it done. And it doesn't take a lot of time, but boy, it'll sure save you a lot of grief in the end, because you won't have this, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do this calculation by a certain date. It's all there in the email, and then if anybody has any misunderstanding about it, there's plenty of time to get it clarified. So I think it's really important for, group work to try to do that. I think you'll find it very helpful, not just for this project, but for any project that you do at university. And make sure when you're doing your schedule, you're working towards your completion date, but then work backwards and also build in a contingency. So you know when it's due, and you should be able to figure out how long it's going to take you to do each part of the project, and then add a few hours in case something goes wrong. Like there might be an error in somebody's calculations, or somebody is sick and they're delayed in what they're supposed to be doing. So you always need to build in a little extra time just to be safe. So in preparation notes, so make sure that your response, you only use the information in the case. So you're not expected to do any external research, and you won't be given any extra marks for doing it. So don't do any external research. And I'm sure you'll be pleased to know there are no presentations on the project. Okay, the all-important part, how is the project going to be evaluated? Well, there's 2 components. There's the written component and there's the analytical component. So for the written component, it's worth a total of 31 marks. And you'll see here in this slide I've outlined for having the proper memo format, 4 marks. Putting the calculations, you have to put your calculations in appendices, but when you write your memo, you need to refer to your appendix where you've done the calculations, 2 marks. Most of the marks, 20 of the 31, relate to how well you're explaining and interpreting the variances. So doing the calculations, that's easy. But what you need to do is to be able to explain it where a non-accountant can follow it. So don't write it as if you're writing it to me. Write it in a way that anybody can pick up this report and understand what you're saying. And finally, there's 5 marks allocated to your recommendations. So that's the written component. Okay, so now for the quantitative analysis, I've listed all of the categories here, and I won't repeat them all in detail, but you can see here I'm identifying all of the elements that you're expected to do calculations for and the associated marks. So I will leave you to read through the list, but just make sure you cover off all of these calculations. And all of them combined will add up to 69 marks. So 69 for the quantitative component and 31 for the analytical, for the written part, then that's going to add up to 100. Submission requirements. You are expected to prepare a memo where you are going to summarize your analysis and your recommendations, and as I mentioned, include your calculations in appendices, and make sure in your appendices you're using headings so I know what calculation you're doing. So if you're doing, a revenue variance, you title it that way. So the calculations must be accompanied by assumptions. So if you're making any assumptions, just include those at the bottom of the schedule. The maximum number of words for the memo is 1,000 words. That doesn't include the appendices. The appendices are extra. So just the body of the report of the memo, it's 1,000 words. Now, if you go to 10 words over, fine, I'm not going to ding you for that. But if you go up to 1,500 words, I won't be viewing that one very favorably. So the idea behind this is to make sure you know how to write in a writing style that's very brief, to the point, not too lengthy, so people can easily pick it up, read it, and understand in non-technical terms what it is you're trying to explain to them. Submission requirements. I want to have one hard copy of the project per group, so don't all send it in, one per group with your names and your student numbers on the cover page. And make sure that you are referring to the marking worksheet, so the marks that I just identified in the 2 slides there, that's included as well in your project package. So the due date is November the 27th at 4. So you can hand it in class. So for the morning class, if you want to hand it in the morning, that's fine. Otherwise, you can just drop it off to my office. And the afternoon class, you guys can just hand it to me in class. But I don't want any reports sent by email. I want all the hard copies only. So the actual project should be posted by the time you're listening to this video. So you can go in and have a look at the project, and if you have a group of 4, you're okay. You can go ahead and start working on it. If you have a group of 2 or maybe 3, just hold off for a little while until I get all the groups sorted out, and then you can start. Because if you start as 2 people in a group and then I assign a 3rd and you already got part of the work done, that might not be a fair allocation of duties. So that concludes the video on your project.